foreign investor. And I know that yesterday or thereabout, the UAE and the Nigerian government also, hosted the Investopedia in Lagos. Those we are now beginning to see gains from all of these reforms, including fiscal reforms, the tax reform that the president has pushed through, even though implementation is still being worked out. There is more money now in the hands of the governors. And I just hope that they can spend that money productively, because that is what will make a sense for the economy and make a sense for the average Nigerian. If we don't spend this more money that the governors have in their hands, including the federal government, and now with the local government autonomy, much more money will now trickle down to the third tier of government. We need to spend that money productively and ensure that we reflect the economy in a way that impacts positively on the lives of Nigerians. And that's how we're going to be able to sustain this momentum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elemo. But I have some other concerns. Now, do you ever worry that global GDP ranking headlines such as these could maybe create a false sense of economic progress for fiscal policy makers, whereas the real test and the real metrics you should be using are revenue efficiency, infrastructural outcomes, and human development indicators? Now, you've used a lot of positive buzzwords here. Subsidy, all the big positive buzzwords you use, and they are great. But I have viewers who are watching right now, and their microeconomic realities tell a very different story than these figures and these words they are using. Level with us. What are some of the indicators in the average man's life, in the marketplace, that they can start to feel that this headline is real and it matters, and that IMF World Rankings are truly good metrics to measure their life on?
Well, the truth is, right, these indicators, whether micro or macro, will always be there. In the real sense is that, how does it translate into my life, for instance? And like I said, you will not see the immediate reflection in your life. For instance, if the economy starts growing, you are not likely to see it immediately in your life as an individual or a household. Whereas on the other side, if the economy starts to shrink, you will start to feel it almost immediately. That's how life is and economics. But the truth is, right, when we had the inflation, what kind of inflation did we have? We have an inflation that is largely driven by cost push inflation. And what does that mean? It means that the cost of production for enterprises grew, and they transferred that burden immediately to the consumers. And that's how the prices of food and other consumable items started to increase, including transportation. And people started to feel the impact, negatively in their life. Their disposable income dropped. But on the flip side is that the economy is stabilizing. The cost of production is also moderating. And I know for one that, for instance, people were complaining about local domestic flight tickets recently. And I know that there's been some adjustment in that regard. And some people are beginning to also, testify of those adjustments. And that's how you begin to see this impact. But for people who are low on the ladder, I think what is important is that when the government and the private sector act responsibly and ensure that we spend productively, like I said earlier, we can now improve, what matters to the everyday Nigerian anyway? Employment, food, shelter. So if we're able to spend productively, we can improve unemployment, for instance, attract investment, and then have companies employ more people. That will also, limit the employment burden that we're currently facing. It will also immediately translate to, increased disposable income. For instance, those who were unemployed have now been employed, and they have more money to spend in the market. And again, is that the government will also have to constantly review, the welfare packages for its workers, both the government and the private sector. The companies, for instance, are declaring huge profit. I know, for instance, for last year, all of the banks declared huge profit. Companies operating in the telecom sector also, declared huge profit. they will have to transfer some of those benefits to the consumers and their employees. And that's how they'll begin to feel the positive side of the economic growth that we're currently experiencing. Right. It's really, really practical if we take very responsible decisions, whether in the private sector or in the public service.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for